Good afternoon. Welcome to the Planning Commission workshop meeting for Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. We are in the third floor conference room with the lights out because the air conditioner is not working. So, however, it shows up much better on Zoom than I figured. So I think we'll be okay. Here in the room with me is Peter Rye, Christopher Trapday, and myself. I am Wayne Dealer. I am chairman of the Planning Commission. And online we have Nelson DeLeon and Wilson Feasy, the vice chair. The Dave Onstock will be joining us, but he's having connection issues at the moment. So I will go and ask for an update of the phase 1 and phase 2 zoning amendments from Jerome.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Yes, the phase 1 and 2 amendments were sent back to City Council for clarification to make sure that it's everything that it has been discussed. And when I say went back to City Council, it went back to the city clerk as well as the solicitor for their review. If everything does meet the checks that the issues that were discussed and that were resolved, we will be forwarding them back to the Berks County Planning Commission as well as our Planning Commission for further review and comment. As I mentioned last meeting, the significant change was with that adaptive reuse will be permitted by special exception within the CC zoning district, and also that there was additional provisions placed for reductions in habitable space if certain circumstances were to be considered. So those were the two significant changes. Phase 3 amendments will also be coming out soon. That's that'll be relative to parking and loading, which you've looked at before. This is just going to be a consolidation of issues and consolidation of the zoning and saldo components of that ordinance. And that's all I have for that.
The next on the agenda, we have the West Reading meeting dates, which I think Simon will probably be working on when he gets back.
Yeah, but if we wanted to get a few dates that he could run past West Reading.
Okay.
We didn't want it to be too far away. We wanted to keep the momentum that we've built. We did have some action items to kind of look into before the meeting, so we were thinking sometime in November to have our next special meeting with a request to not do another Friday.
Oh, yes, and also request that all meetings be done via Google Calendar, because I love how it just pops up in the calendar and then just say yes and so on. Yeah.
Michelle, could I get you to check the chat box, please?
So are there any dates in November that anyone are absolutely out?
Not for me. It turns out I won't be going to Rochester in November as I originally planned. So
We're looking for Friday evenings.
I will be here on Friday.
I would avoid the week of Thanksgiving, Emily.
Yeah, well, also not that week. We do still have our regular meeting the 26th, but if we could avoid that last week of November.
First half of November.
to me. Latter half. We keep
And there, am I remembering correctly that they also have either their council or their commission meetings on Tuesdays?
Yes,
Was that correct?
yes, in fact, they're having a meeting tonight, same time, later tonight at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, cause I was thinking maybe we could just do it, instead of it being a special meeting, that'll be our workshop meeting on the 19th. But if they also have a meeting on Tuesdays,
our workshop meeting to that week.
yeah, if we wanna move the workshop to either Wednesday or Thursday.
Either of those is okay. First day.
I'm okay with either of those options.
Okay,
So
Thursday,
far,
the 21st.
so far we have one option would be to reschedule the workshop meeting instead of November 19th to move it to the 21st. And
Just make sure we advertise that change to the regular
Yep.
meeting schedule.
we'll advertise to the Reading Eagle and post it on the website.
And we can just add a line to Emily that this is in lieu of the normal workshop or something like that.
Yeah.
So that November 21st, you said?
So that's gonna be the most optimal date. And then if they can't that day, then we'll just have to either push it to after Thanksgiving or it'll be one of these.
But if the 20th is the second choice for them.
We could do the 20th or the 21st. We'll fly that by them.
21st, but
Yeah.
me anyway, perfectly 21st, 20th as a second option.
I ha-
But either of us
If you
work
can remember
for-
to include me, Emily, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
And Emily, I currently have a conflict on the 21st, but that is subject to change, but I can always catch up if needed. Please don't schedule it around me.
Okay.
We could also
So,
possibly,
I'll just,
we could also possibly schedule, start it at 5.
all right, so
I would
we'll,
highly prefer that.
Yeah, same,
Mhm.
same. All
My,
right, so
my conflict
I'll,
doesn't start till 7:30, so I can do it in the car ride if I need to then.
all right, so I'll send an email, since Simon's the one with the West Reading contacts, I'll send him an email. That first choice, the 21st, second choice, the 20th, for not necessarily a special meeting, just a rescheduled workshop meeting. And then to see if maybe 5 o'clock would work.
But Emily, just advertise it like we did last time with council in West Reading. Include it in the
I'll
advertisement.
do that,
Okay.
all right?
Great. Is that okay, Nelson and Will?
Yeah, that's fine by me, Mr. Chairman.
And Will, you're still muted. Not sure if you heard us.
Is
You might
there
be
anything
having-
on Zoom to sort of like, book him to try and get?
He's on his phone.
Oh, he's on his phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will, if you have any other dates, or if that doesn't work, just shoot me an email. But yeah, so David Ansbach is on, so if we wanted,
Okay.
if you want to introduce him.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, I'll let David introduce himself since I actually have never met David before.
Well, for that, I guess I'll turn my camera on and say hello to everybody. If the video does get choppy, please let me know. I can always cut that off, and we can switch into just voice. So my name is David Ansbach. I am the Capital Projects Manager for the City of Reading. I get engaged in a lot of projects from parks and playgrounds to HVAC systems, unfortunately, which some of you are experiencing a fault in today. But be rest assured that tomorrow we should have the documents in hand for the bidding for the replacement of the City Hall HVAC program. So that's coming in the very near future. But we do get, in my program, we get involved in a lot of minutia of the city. We get to do roofs, re-roofing projects on the fire stations and libraries. We get into the HVAC systems of the same. Probably my favorite is to get into parks and playgrounds and revitalizing the fun spaces in the city. Our program is hopefully going to start dabbling in some of the critical infrastructure in the near future when it comes to streets engineering, as well as some sanitary sewers and some water engineering. That's an area we haven't quite explored into yet. And we're also starting to dabble in some downtown parking. So it's going to be interesting to see how the program continues to grow and develop. I know Emily had some comments as far as some specific downtown interests. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions. From my perspective, I really would like to start to learn a little bit more about how we go about doing one-stops. So in a lot of aspects, we've been working in silos, and we often forget about some of our other departments that need to be engaged. So I'd really like to start learning about how we get one stop and how we get everybody on board. So we get planning, zoning, permitting, and everybody in the same room at one time and kind of talk through some of the nuances of projects. So I have something I'd like to learn from you guys, and hopefully if you have any questions, I have something that I can impart upon you.
Thanks, David. Just real quick, have there been any recent projects that have started or been completed or anything in the near future in the downtown area?
So one project that's on the precipice right now is, like I mentioned, the downtown parking. It's something that we're currently partnering with RAWA as well as BARTA and getting even the downtown district, Maritza Loaiza, involved in how we're increasing the availability of parking. I actually just saw a news article on Jamar Kelly's wall the other day about doubling and tripling parking downtown. The current plans, due to some of the PennDOT regulations, may not get us to a double spacing, but we're certainly looking about replacing the center island with some angled parking, which would be available in each direction. So half the block would be available in one direction, the other half of the block would be available for the other direction. That does come with decreasing the sidewalk aprons up against the businesses down to about a 15-foot range. So it still promote a little bit of the sidewalk cafe type idea, but it would also still, push the parking lanes or the driving lanes and the parking spaces around a little bit in the space. Other projects that are going downtown in conjunction with Maritza is we're looking at some revamping again on the 600 Penn courtyard. We're having some challenges there with some vagrancy and some, I don't want to say it's illegal dumping, but homelessness and trash and things like that that's going in that area. So we're looking about increasing the LED lighting and as well as bringing in some community-based assets that will hopefully change the demographic that are using that courtyard and hopefully change some of the challenges that are happening there. Recently, we finished the 800 block courtyard. That's the one with the Reading sign in it. Our ambitions there with placing the Reading sign was to create an Instagrammable location so we can get people to stop in that corridor and maybe get out of the vehicle, see what businesses are around, take a photograph, post it online. So we're trying to get involved a little bit in how that commerce works. I understand there might be some movement with the 5 city properties along Penn. I'm not 100% and 100% versed in what's going on there, but I understand there might be a little bit of movement with stabilizing how those properties are currently standing.
There is
So
a
there-
little bit of an update on those buildings, and I can elaborate once David is done.
Same.
One of the things that we are actively looking right now is there is an initiative for having an outdoor ice skating rink. And we're certainly looking for real estate that could potentially house a 60 by 100 foot ice skating rink. The major complication with that rental is that we're looking at needing 480 volt electric, and having that in the downtown area is a little bit of a challenge. We were potentially going to place it at the City Park basketball courts this year. But not only did we have electrical challenges that it's, I want to say it's on 7th Street. It's like 11 blocks away. But we were also having structural issues with the basketball courts being over the reservoirs and holding the potential weight of the ice rink as well as the patrons. So we're certainly trying to find a location that would be very publicly viewable as well as accessible. So it has to have the electric as well as parking access and things of that nature. Trying to think of what else. Through the Schneider Electric program, there's currently an initiative to work on some street lighting and safety lighting in the area, replacing out some of our old metal halide lights and upgrading to LED lighting. Oh, and what else is in downtown right now?
That would also bring solar panels to City Hall, to Cedar Street lot, to Public Works, and a couple other modernization upgrades to infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it depends on really how far you want to carry downtown all the way up into Penn Street. We're actively currently working on the greenhouse rehabilitation. We're also about 50% through the bomb shelter rehabilitation. And I'm trying to think of what else is on that structure. Unfortunately,
What's the bomb?
For
Sorry, go.
continuation of the city government, it's on the,
What's-
yeah.
The question is, what's the bomb shelter? If you could elaborate what that is.
Sure. So it's actually I think it's called the Emergency Operations Center. It was commissioned in the late 60s era, Cold War era type thing. It was originally during an era when the city council members were also the department heads. So it was envisioned that in the event of a Cold War nuclear fallout type situation, that the department heads / city council members would be able to relocate and operate the city from within an enclosed structure. It has a self-contained well. It had its own water heating system, its own electric system. It's, for all intents and purposes, a bomb shelter.
Yeah, it's a continuity of government site.
Absolutely. And in in recent years, it's obviously not been used, and it fell into disrepair, moisture complications, paint on the wall, delaminating. Our goal right now is that we're reestablishing the existing electrical and getting some ventilation fans on just to make it an open building. Replacing the doors and getting the paint, basically repainting the inside. It has two potential outcomes for it. One of them being an accessory structure for the greenhouse. There's times where we're overwintering vegetables or plants or things of that nature. It's a steady, controlled climate down there that could potentially house and keep things safe down there. The other thing I'd love to see happen would be potentially tapping into some of that World War II history here in the city. I know that out on the county property, there's a lot of activity that happens for their World War II weekend. It would be really neat if we could get some of those reenactors and bring some of that education into the city and potentially walk people through a mock communication center, which it might have been back during the day, and give some of that educational foundation to our city.
I mean, it's
Obviously-
almost like you could kind of do both, because the
Yeah,
World War
right.
II weekends over the summer,
Mhm.
it could just be a temporary setup, and then, then now we have a way of using it all year round, basically. That's really cool.
So communication
Yep.
gear still in there?
No, it's currently just a stripped shell. There was a couple rotary phones in there when we accessed the structure initially, but I'm pretty sure it might have also been the source of the most recent round of Ebola or monkeypox, with how much mold and dust and debris was down there. We certainly did not recommend staying more than a few minutes down there without a respirator. So bringing the structure back to an accessible point, and then hopefully building out a future use for that is what the current goal is.
So just real quick about the buildings downtown, the one closest to the Alvernia building, there was a collapse of the roof on top. So basically they were scheduled in front of the Harvard today, but the Harvard meeting got rescheduled because of the AC issues. But they will be going in front of the Harvard. They will be demoing the buildings, but they will be removing and storing the facades for future development. So from what I understand, from what Amy had told me, was that those facades have been moved before and then placed. So that's the goal, but they need to get Harb approval first before they demo the buildings.
Yeah, I think that one facade was originally on Sixth Street. Yeah, they.
Other people say second and Penn. Emily, there's not been a final decision made on that, just for clarification, but we are coalescing around it, because to do a partial demolition and then shore up the front and just prop the facade up is going to obstruct the entirety of the sidewalk, and that's what we don't want. So it seems more logical to dismantle and store the facade, except if that creates an issue of being able to access historic tax credits for the development project. So
Gotcha.
that's why a final
Okay.
determination hasn't been.
Is it, who has the title transferred to this property?
No. Nope, not yet.
It was pending some appraisal. That was like half a year ago.
Okay.
Yes, it's still pending.
So any questions for David?
Okay, yeah, just a few comments.
Mhm.
First, the downtown parking, because that's going to be that's going to require new curbs and sidewalks, and the realignment of the street has to go through planning commission.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to see that as the, I guess, the final, one of the final things to get the project going.
Yeah, David, are they
Yep.
still having those like progress meetings for the design of it?
What I'm aware of recently is we had a meeting with BARDA and RPA, and we basically selected the concept that we would like to move forward based on some of the engineering constraints. But our next step is, under Jamar's direction, we're looking at parlaying some of our ARPA funds that were set aside for downtown, specifically to secure the full design engineering contract. So that's the next step after we basically, like I said, we went through, I think, 9 different concept renditions. Some of them were as simple as adding a crosswalk mid-block. That was a change. But as you understand, that shifts everything in one direction or another by doing just one small item. But by working with RPA, I think we finally come to a concept that involves a sidewalk that would be in the middle of the where the planters are now, basically in between the spaces. It would also provide for mid-block crosswalks. It would provide for, of course, parking meters in the center island. That way you don't have to go back and forth across the road multiple times. It involved our traffic engineer, Tim Crawl, pointed out that there wasn't enough space to back out of the parking per PennDOT code. So we had to do another shift there to come up with yet another concept. So I believe the concept is secured and we're moving it to design engineering now.
Second comment is that I have to look it up, but there was an ice rink in City Park in the 1920s. I just don't know. I don't remember exactly where it was in City Park.
I think it was where the pond is, right, Dave?
I'm up in the air, so I've seen some photographs, and I'm not sure if they were skating on the pond from the photographs or if they were skating on the old reservoirs that were open topped at the time. So there are some photos. I wouldn't even say they're photos. They're more of a drawing, lithograph of sorts that show open water, but I can't tell if it's depicting which of those structures.
I'd have to have one of my friends take a look at that at the Berks History Center.
Is there a possibility of it, like, would it be possible to place it in that little courtyard on the, what is it, the 800 block, 900 block? Where the Reading sign is?
The problem with the courtyard there is that it isn't actually level. There's about a 2% slope, max 4.5 in some areas throughout the entire courtyard. And the ice skating rink, in addition to being contiguous, so the benches, the trees, the light poles, all of those things are in the way. The ice skating rink requires a laser leveled starting point. So it actually has to have a sand leveled bed to sit on. Or else, the water all goes to one side when it freezes.
My brother actually had a job when they converted the Berlin Deutschhalle from a concert venue to a
It's getting too dark.
to a winter sports arena where now their ice hockey team plays. My brother had that job to build the cabinets to control the temperature of the ice. And
Yeah, on that note, you were talking about a hockey rink. Well, why can't the one that's used for the Reading Royals double as an ice skating rink? Doesn't have to be outdoors. Is that the idea?
but that's because that's owned by the arena authority.
Oh, okay.
But they do open it sometimes.
Yeah.
Sure.
For public use.
So for the last 2 years, we have partnered with the Reading Royals to hold free public skating. And it is, we'll say, a desire of the mayor, a dream of the mayor to get an outdoor venue going. It has a little bit of a different ambiance and a different welcoming to the community. So we have looked at the Cherry RPA lot. We've looked at the state lot. We've looked at City Park. We've looked at a multitude of locations. And one of the things that we're coming into the complication of is the 480 volt electric. So that's kind of challenging to get into a location. A relatively level location. Parking available for individuals that are coming to use the ice skating rink. So you have to have that available. We would certainly like,
So as far as the 480 volts, you can't just like adapt the building to have 480 volts, right? You'd have to rewire everything like under the streets and stuff like that, right? Something like that?
Yes.
Well, it takes a special transformer, takes two-phase electric.
40 volt three-phase is typical industrial voltage. Any industrial building in the city of Reading, it has that already. And your distribution, 17,000 volts is all three phases as well. It's just a question of the transformer. You need a transformer.
I was gonna say, is there any possibility that we could somehow, use that piece of land on the other side of the river that West Reading has and see if we could get something together with them? I mean, even though it has a lot of utilities under it, I mean, people might be willing to make an exception. I mean, my other suggestion was gonna be to, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, it has to be in city limits. That's a deal breaker.
Oh, it's in the city limits, it's just that it's owned by West Reading.
Deal breaker.
Okay, so what if we were to say take a really messy wide section of the river and then do the rink over that? I mean, do we
I think
have
it's
enough
the
power?
that's
The electric is gonna be the big.
Because I was thinking
I
we
guess.
probably have the space along the portion along the river that is owned by the Reading Redevelopment Authority, but then it's still the point of getting the electric.
Could they build like a new like mini transformer that went from say rack or something like that?
There is
There-
city.
There have been some theories that potentially the other half of the lot where the skate park is might be an amenable location. There's also challenges to make sure it's visible at the same time. We want to make sure that not only our city residents can get to it easily, but also, some of the outside individuals may want to skate outdoors too. So there's certainly a laundry list of challenges.
Yeah,
When
it's
you
meant to
say
be a draw
visibility, are you-
for
are you-
city.
Are
Sorry.
you also talking about visibility from the West Shore bypass? Like, would you maybe cut down a couple trees so people could see the lights coming from it? I mean. is that
No,
the
more-
idea? Like,
No, more visibility as in just knowing it's there in general. So if it was located right along Penn Avenue, something of that nature, people would drive by during the day and see it's there and then maybe come back and visit in the evening. And again, accessibility, parking, 480 is also down in that area. It's one of those things that we're actively researching good locations to put into the mix and weigh the pros and cons.
I think the bigger challenge is the investment necessary for Schuler in order to create ice. Right, this is a pretty significant piece of equipment. Right,
Mhm.
I mean, if you don't have a
So-
chiller, you're only gonna get to use it so many days a year, it's not gonna be very many. You look at this stone house and why I'm missing, that thing is not frozen all winter long, it only freezes at certain cold spells. And otherwise, it's not usable, right, so without a
Right.
chiller system, this thing is just barely usable.
So the city, we received
How
quotes
many
this
homes
past
were-
year. So we received quotes this past year, and it was right around $280,000 to rent basically a turnkey rink setup. It came with a chiller vehicle. Basically, it's an 18-wheeler that you plug into the 480 volt, and it has all of your tubes and piping and everything else that you run into the rink. And it was 60 by 100 inside the dasher boards. It also came with 120 sets of rental skates. It came with ice tending equipment.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were looking at a full 8-week rental package that we could bring it in. It's similar to what they do down Worth Plaza. They bring in an 18-wheeler, but they did outfit their plaza prior to utilizing it as that for that purpose. So a lot of times we spend a lot of time trying to shoehorn something that didn't or wasn't intended into that location. We'd really like to get out ahead of this and make sure that we're either, creating a new location that is fitting for it, but also has, the rest of the, 46 months out of the, or weeks out of the year in mind. So it's,
Yeah, so you're thinking like it has to be something directly downtown, like we couldn't possibly use, the church whose top was falling off that they had to cord off. Could we bulldoze that church and then put the rink there?
if the city owned that property, there's always questions about eminent domain and where we could potentially take something down. If those 5 Fifth and Penn properties weren't there, I mean, that would be a great visible location. But there's lots of aspirations.
For that matter, you could rent the transformer as well and plunk that 480 anywhere where there's aerial wires overhead.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention the vagrancy problem at Sixth and Court.
Mhm.
That, it doesn't bother me when I leave the Sovereign Performing Arts Center with all those people there at the Greater Reading Chamber office. But I'm sure that anyone who lives in Wyomissing is probably scared to death of these people, even though they say hi to you and, are actually very, very nice people.
Yeah. Well, the other part of the problem is they use the stairwells as bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
So now
Well,
you've got-
some of us would like a public bathroom downtown, but we lack a champion. If we could get a recommendation.
I
from the
second that
planning
motion.
commission,
I second that motion.
Please, all those in favor.
Okay, let's take a look at that at a future time,
I'm very serious.
because,
Yeah.
there is one underneath the street at Fifth and Penn, but.
Yeah, there's the comfort
Oh,
station.
okay.
We've been down there. That's not viable.
Yeah,
Philadelphia-
we have
I
certainly.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, and when we've been to every climbing place, and I did drag Jamar down into the comfort station because I've heard a lot about it, but I had never been there. Unfortunately, what we found down there were not only ancient Penn Street decorations, but we did find like the ceilings had collapsed, and when they collapsed, the dirt and debris obstructed the floor drains, which then backed up and created 6 to 8 inches of water on the floor in there in some places. It's just not viable.
Oh, and then my last comment is that about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, the managing director used to actually give us a binder every year with all the capital projects. And at that time, certain funding had to be approved by us for some reason. I don't think that's true anymore, but at that time it was. But it would be nice if we could get those binders again.
Okay.
I don't know about binders, but we can certainly share our spreadsheet once it's introduced as a part of the budget. And that's a public document. You can pull it down off our website right now.
Yeah, the 2024 capital projects list, and I believe even 2023 might have been the first year that CIP project list was incorporated as part of the annual budget report. So it is a public record.
Oh, great. See, that wasn't, yeah.
And just to take a one step back there, on the 600 block of Penn, I know one of the specific ambitions of the Snyder Lighting Project is to increase the illumination from the walking path, specifically from the arena to the garages. So we're hopefully going to make those Wyomissing residents feel a little more comfortable, as long as it's bright around where they're going.
Yeah, 'cause
So
especially
I would
along-
share, if I could share for the
go ahead.
commission, a little detail. So the $17.9 million facility modernization project includes at least $1 million worth of LED lighting upgrades in the downtown. $1 million doesn't get us all of downtown, but we worked with our coordinator, or rather core manager, to identify particular target areas, as Dave just alluded to, our courtyards, the areas leading to the arena, the garages, being most important to increase visibility and comfort for those visiting our city. So that is a priority. Second in Washington, believe it or not, is another area to increase visibility around the Goggle Works and rack and make that more walkable as well.
Yeah, 'cause
Mr.
I know walking, I guess that's Cherry. Is that
Yes,
Cherry
Michelle.
Street?
I
It's
said-
a little dark at night.
I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, that goes back to a former planner who had interpreted the municipality's planning code as granting the authority to the planning commission about review of capital projects. So I think that's what you're referring to regarding the binders.
Yeah, I believe that is the reason why. And actually in our, I think, I have to look at it again, but I think in our initial charter of 1923, it's in there that we're supposed to be doing that. So let's see here. All right, do you have anything else, David?
Not on mute. They're not on mute. No, I appreciate having the opportunity to come before you guys and talk through some stuff and hear some of your opinions. So I appreciate having the time.
Does any of the commissioners have further questions?
Well, but one thing that's been on my mind, I just happened to take a bike ride today around that area. Is anybody going to try and say, work on the bridge or the ramp that goes from the trail by the river up to Buttonwood Street? Because it looks like it hasn't been paved in a while. Go ahead.
Is that on the SRT?
Yeah, it's long, and like, of course, there's a fence, blocking off like what would be like a right-hand path, like opposite of where the trail goes. But of course, I don't know about, the possibility of like trying to make that join up better with the trail or something like that.
Yeah, that would be
I am on
something that-
I am on the periphery of that. I know there is some SRT talks right now, and they're in the grant application process of completing the trail through Reading.
Well, the other thing is, there's also, that kind of messy river area where they've taken out that, that thing that you walk out onto, what do you call it? Yeah, the platform, they took out that platform. And I guess that maybe they took out the sign, the historical sign or whatever. But that area just looks really messy, like it could use something in it. And then on top of that, of course, I also went to River Road, and of course, I wonder as much as everybody here does, if and when, Norfolk Southern might give up the rail portion that runs along Barn Street bypass, and or if there's another way that a path could be made sort of through to the other side without getting Carpenter Technology angry.
Mhm.
And that,
Yeah, and I
think that would
believe-
be part of
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I know that there's some.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I know there's some talk with that, and I know that it goes up through the Carpenter property and along the River Road stretch there. I don't know if they've finalized the talks with Carpenter about how to get through that area with the SRT, but I know that it is currently working through the process.
And good job on the Kelly Park, bikeway, walkway there, whoever did that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got the unique, I guess, opportunity right now that we have a lot of great partners in different city departments. Tim Kroll over in traffic engineering. He's been working on a lot of paving and a lot of those like 18th Ward bike trail projects, things of that nature. We've got a lot of help over in the public works side. Carlos Torres and Felix Freitas have been doing wonderful things over there, getting our internal crews working on keeping things going. Even down into Jamar and his crew in financing and purchasing. It really feels like we have a cohesive team that's been rolling forward in a lot of good areas right now.
Oh, and also one other thing, there's the tennis courts, and then there's the school, and then there's apparently a portion of River Road that's considered private. Any chance that might be opened up at any point, or any possibility that the trail could be like straightened out so that it's not so windy?
That's going to be part of our negotiations with New Colt when they bring their land development plan.
So that's New Colt. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's New Colt. So when they're very much open to it, but we have to make sure that Public Works has their easements and right of ways for the sewer system that's coming across there. So, let's see here. Okay, I think if Will or Nelson doesn't have anything, or Jamie, there were a few things I wanted to touch upon. Hopefully Jamar can stay with us. And hearing none.
Yeah,
Next.
yep, I'm here.
No, go ahead, Jamar.
No, I've got another 40 minutes of driving. You're stuck with me, sorry.
Oh, okay, well, drop off anytime you need to. The only thing I wanted, since Jerome's still here, I was wondering how Jamar and Jerome felt about yesterday's map amendment hearing.
I thought it went very well. The questions that were asked, we're going to be providing a follow-up staff report, which will identify a few issues that we may know about. Certain things may have been considered hearsay in terms of who was behind the last time that this property was rezoned from R1 to the preservation district. So we might not be able to find that answer, but we can certainly provide additional information on when it was rezoned last, and who the petitioner was, as well as a couple other issues that, and we probably should provide maybe a side-by-side comparison on the uses that are permitted within the preservation district as compared to the R1 district. There was a lot of discussion on what type of uses could be at that location. It is, if it goes to R1, it would be for one family uses, not multi-family uses. So yeah, the council members, I guess, just some verification on that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that did come up. Supposedly, a judge owned this before and he changed into preservation so nobody could build in his backyard or something strange like that.
Yeah, I think I think when they said the judge, I think they meant it was Congressman Gus Yatron.
Yeah, so we're supposed, they've asked us to take a look at that, so we'll get an update on that later.
Yeah.
And, let me see here, and I just wanted to, once again, thank everyone for Friday's meeting with West Reading. And, I'm so glad that Jamar was able to make it and make comments directly to West Reading. So I thought it went very well, and we received a very nice email from Chris Miller thanking us for that, so I'll have to get back to him on that. With that, just make sure I didn't miss anything. Our next planning commission meeting will be Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 at 6 o'clock. That's our regular voting meeting. Do you have any idea what lays ahead for that, Jerome?
Yes, looks like we'll have projects that are ready for approvals or just a verification of their conditions of approval. Those would be the Cartech Land Development Plan, the Mitsubishi Chemical Land Development Plan, the Reading School District Thomas Ford Aquaponics project. And then we're also, I believe, waiting for, I'm sorry, the 19th Ward Pump Station Land Development Plan was also submitted. That's a new application. But it's pretty well straightforward in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. We still have some follow-ups to work out with 317 Franklin Street and Alvernia American House with their project as well. Emily, do you have anything further?
No, just for 317 Franklin, it's gonna be a brand new review. Apparently he came into the funding to be able to do the adaptive reuse along with the daycare. I told him that it would probably be better if he just did it all on one land development plan instead of coming back a second time to do the adaptive reuse.
Might be cheaper in the long run, I think.
Yeah, so I got those plans, Jerome, I'll forward them to you tomorrow for review. And then their hurdle is just gonna be the planning modules.
Okay, yeah, we'll try to expedite that for them as so that they can get their planning modules in line for submission.
Okay, great. Anything else for the good of the order? Very good. Thank you, everyone. Going to cut it a little shorter than normal since it is warm in here. But thanks again to everyone. I really appreciate everyone's participation, and yeah, I'm really excited about what's coming up in the near future. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.